Lord willing, we're going to be in Proverbs chapters 10 through 31 for the next 8 weeks. But before we start, I really want to explain my approach to this section of Proverbs because it's very unorthodox. This section is uniquely challenging for short daily Bible reading recordings because the style of the book has changed. In chapters 1 through 9, there's more of a narrative, logical flow to the text. But chapter 10 to the end of the book contains short, pithy statements that can stand all on their own without any direct logical connection to what comes before or after it. Every verse teaches a unique life lesson with dozens of possible applications. And since on average we'll be covering 15 verses a day, I have 3 main options for how to approach these recordings. Option number 1 is to make 15 different points, one for each verse. But of course, that's way too many points for a daily recording. There's no way we're going to be able to keep up with 15 different ideas every day. The second option is that I could divide the 15 verses into 2 or 3 groups based on topic. So in that particular day's reading, there might be 6 verses on money, followed by 4 verses on laziness, and then 5 verses on marriage. The problem is it's still too many points to talk about money, laziness, and marriage all in one recording, and for you to try to keep track of 3 or 4 ideas per day. So that only leaves me with the final option, and this is the approach that I'm taking in the rest of our time in this book, and that is to find one main point that runs like a thread through all 15 verses. Now, like I said, this approach to Proverbs is very unorthodox, but it's the approach I'm taking because of our time constraints, and this approach will help me to explain each verse while still staying focused on one overarching point. And I need to be clear here. I am not just making up the main point out of thin air. I'm thinking very carefully, studying, praying, and staring at the text like a magic eye poster until the main point for the day emerges. And usually I'm getting that main point from several verses in that day's reading that place particular emphasis on it. And the disclaimer here is that you'll need an open mind for this approach to work, because it may not be that some of the verses were even written to make the main point I'm imposing on them, but I still believe it's fair because each verse has dozens of applications. I'm just applying it to our specific point that day. So if you're reading a verse and you think, wow, I didn't get that from the verse at all, Brian, I had a totally different application in mind, that's okay, because they can be applied to many different situations. I'm just trying to keep us focused on one main point. Thank you so much for joining me on this amazing journey through the wisdom literature so we can be like trees firmly planted by streams of water. And I'll see you in Proverbs 10.